What is going on, guys? It is WrestleMania here, back with another episode. It's hard to believe, but the Attitude Era is almost 20 years old. Many of the wrestlers we enjoyed watching on Monday Night Raw and later SmackDown no longer appear on WWE TV. Sadly, some of them had departed for that big squared circle in the sky. But there are many that just seem to disappear from the spotlight, or even wrestling altogether. Thanks to WrestleMania's ace investigative team, we've located 12 WWF superstars who seemingly vanished into thin air. Number 1. Steve Blackman. You may not know it, but Steve Blackman began wrestling back in the late 80s for Calgary Stampede Wrestling. Blackman's wrestling career as well as his life nearly ended after he contracted malaria whilst working in South Africa. Blackman fought to get back in the ring, but the disease sapped his strength, preventing him from taking a contract with the WWF in 1992. Eventually, Blackman recovered and he debuted in the WWF in November 1997, appearing as a fan who helped Vader fight off the Hart Foundation. From there, Blackman embarked on a 5-year-long tour of the WWF, wrestling in singles and tag team competition. Known as the Lethal Weapon, Blackman's martial arts background was integrated into his character, and he would hold the Hardcore Championship on 6 separate occasions. Blackman left the WWE in 2002 and focused on MMA, running a self-defense school, promoting events, and working with Ken Shamrock to launch a clothing line for MMA fighters. Blackman returned to the WWE in 2007 for Raw's 15th anniversary show, participating in its anniversary battle royal. Blackman is now a bail bondsman and even recorded a pilot for a show about his exploits tracking down fugitives. Number 2. Ken Shamrock. Once considered the number 1 MMA fighter in the world, Ken Shamrock worked as a professional wrestler before entering the octagon. Shamrock worked in South Atlantic Pro Wrestling before moving on to Japan's UWF. This led to a career in mixed martial arts where he achieved tremendous fame in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, holding the promotion's Superfight Championship and headlining numerous cards. Shamrock debuted for the WWF in 1997, serving as a special referee for Stone Cold Steve Austin vs Bret the Hitman Hart's submission match at WrestleMania 13. Going by his nickname, the world's most dangerous man, Shamrock utilized his MMA techniques to secure the Intercontinental Championship, the WWF Tag Team Championship, and the 1998 King of the Ring. Shamrock left the WWF in 1999, making a few appearances on the independent circuit before working for TNA and winning the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Since then, Shamrock has worked in MMA, launched a clothing line with Steve Blackman for MMA fighters, helped train Marines in hand-to-hand combat, and dabbled in wrestling on the independent circuit. Number 3. X-pac. Whether he was known as the Lightning Kid, the 1-2-3 Kid, Six-Pac or X-pac, Sean Waltman had one of the most turbulent careers in professional wrestling. Waltman worked as the Kid for the WWF but became known as the 1-2-3 Kid after an upset win over Razor Ramon. Waltman would then work as a perennial underdog, eventually being mentored by Ramon and winning the WWF Tag Team Championship for 2 brief reigns. Waltman jumped ship to WCW, but only lasted there less than 2 years before Eric Bischoff fired him via Federal Express. This was turned into an angle when Waltman returned to the WWF and cut a fiery promo on Bischoff. Waltman's 1998 return saw him dubbed X-pac, a new member of D-Generation X. Frequent injuries hampered his second WWF run, and Waltman left the WWF before 2002's SummerSlam pay-per-view. After that, he worked for TNA on occasion, as well as independent promotions like Extreme Pro Wrestling, the short-lived Wrestling Society X, and Chikara. Waltman returned to the WWE in 2011 to celebrate Shawn Michaels' induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. He continues to pop up at WWE events, his biggest appearance being WrestleMania 31, where he helped Triple H in his bout against Sting. Waltman also has a regular podcast show online, and lest anyone forget, he appeared in 2 adult films with China, One Night in China and Another Night in China. Number 4. Gangrel. David Heath worked as a wrestler since 1988, honing his craft in a variety of promotions including the WWF. Heath began to gain notice when he adopted the Vampire Warrior gimmick, utilizing it in a number of territories, including ECW and the World Wrestling Council, before debuting in the WWF in 1998 as Gangrel. Gangrel's amazing entrance featured him rising through a circle of fire and drinking what appeared to be blood before he entered the ring. The entrance and Gangrel's unique look made him one of WWF's eeriest characters, as fans were amazed by his vampire gimmick. Gangrel brought in wrestlers Edge and Christian to form his stable The Brood, eventually being incorporated into the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness. After Edge and Christian left The Brood, Gangrel wrestled mostly in singles action, other than a short-lived program where he formed a new Brood with Matt and Jeff Hardy. Gangrel was released from the WWF in 2001, but went on to find continued work on the independent circuit. Gangrel has popped up in WWE occasionally, including an appearance in the Battle Royale on Raw's 15th anniversary show and on an episode of the Edge and Christian show. Gangrel signed a 12-film deal to direct adult films back in 2007, which could also explain his absence. Number 5. Brian Christopher. Brian Christopher debuted in the WWF in 1997, excelling in its light heavyweight division. All the while, the WWF teased its fans by hinting that Brian Christopher was the son of wrestler and color commentator Jerry the King Lawler, only for both men to deny the real-life family connection. In 1999, Christopher became Grandmaster Sexay, joining his former tag team partner Scott Taylor as Too Cool and reaching the top by winning the WWF Tag Team Championship. The popular team would incorporate a post-match dance into their matches, eventually bringing in Rikishi as a new member of their group. Unfortunately for Christopher, a 2001 scrape with the law saw him released from the WWF. He went to work on the independent circuit and appeared in World Wrestling All-Stars and TNA. In 2004, Christopher got another shot with the WWE but wasn't kept around long enough. He would then return to the WWE in 2011 as part of a feud between Jerry Lawler and announcer Michael Cole, finally acknowledging Lawler was his father. Christopher reunited with Scotty 2 Hotty and Rikishi for an old-school edition of Raw in January 2014 and made a special appearance with Scotty in NXT in 2014. Number 6. Scotty 2 Hotty. Persistence pays off as seen by the life of Scott Garland, better known as Scotty 2 Hotty. Garland began wrestling for the WWF in 1991, reportedly when he was still a junior in high school. Scotty signed a contract with the WWF in 1997 and competed for its light heavyweight championship, albeit coming up short. Things began to go his way when he teamed with Brian Christopher as Too Much. Things went to another level when they adopted the identities of Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay, rechristening themselves as Too Cool and winning the WWF Championship from Edge and Christian. After Grandmaster Sexay's firing, Christopher teamed with Albert and later Rikishi. Lightning struck twice when Scotty won the WWE Tag Team Championship with Rikishi. Lightning struck twice in a different way when Rikishi was let go and Scotty found himself without a partner again. He continued working for the WWE until his release in 2007. He trained as a firefighter back in 2013 and Scotty now works as a trainer for WWE's NXT promotion. Number 7. Val Venis. While the idea of a wrestler's gimmick being that of a porn star may seem crazy, it was par for the course during the Attitude Era when characters like Stone Cold Steve Austin and D-Generation X gave censors and USA Network executives conniption fits. Wrestler Sean Morley debuted in 1998 and amused fans with his innuendo-laden promos and on-screen antics of seducing women around him. Sean Morley deserves a lot of credit for taking a gimmick that could have failed to launch and shot it to new heights. Even as he had to tone down things, he excelled as a straight-laced member, no pun intended, of Right to Censor as the Big Val Boski and Chief Morley, thanks to good ring work and charisma. In 2009, the WWE and Venus parted ways, but he soon found work on the independent circuit and had a brief run with TNA. Number 8. Bart Gunn. After the Smoking Guns tag team broke up, Michael Polk Lopek, better known as Bart Gunn, saw his shelf life beginning to look like a milk carton left out in the sun. However, an unlikely series of wins in the WWF's Brawl for All contest saw Gunn himself positioned as the WWF's toughest man. Unfortunately, the WWF pushed its luck by pitting Gunn against professional boxer Eric Butterbean Esch at WrestleMania 15. Butterbean promptly knocked Gunn out as well as his WWF career. No doubt embarrassed, the WWF tossed him out faster than Santino Marella at the Royal Rumble. Fortunately for Gunn, his win over Steve Williams gave him an instant cash in Japan as he found success in All Japan Pro Wrestling from 1998 to 2002 under the name Mike Barton. He'd appear briefly in TNA and found more success in Japan, this time working for New Japan Wrestling from 2002 to 2004. After retiring from wrestling, Barton competed in mixed martial arts in Rumble on the Rock and Pride. He'd win the match in ROTR but lose a unanimous decision in Pride. WWE fans would see him again when, like several of wrestlers listed here, he appeared on the 15th anniversary edition of Raw, participating in the anniversary Battle Royale. Number 9. Marc MERO. The sound of Vince McMahon cackling was undoubtedly echoing through Titan Tower when he heard about WCW wrestler Johnny B. Bad. McMahon was thrilled at the thought of having this Little Richard lookalike in the WWF. McMahon should have looked closer because WCW owned the rights to the Johnny B. Bad character, which meant MERO had to compete as someone totally different. The result was the wild man Marc MERO, who combined boxing and wrestling skills like Bad but without his signature look and mannerisms. MERO did have the benefit of his smoking hot wife Sable at ringside, which helped him get over somewhat, but after a knee injury sidelined him for 6 months, MERO returned as a heel before he and Sable left the promotion. MERO returned for one night at WCW, then worked for the short-lived X-Wrestling Federation from 2001 to 2002 and appeared briefly for TNA. MERO retired from wrestling in 2006 and works purely as a motivational speaker now. Number 10. D'Lo Brown. Wrestler AC Connor's WWF career began in 1994 when he worked as enhancement talent under the name AC Connor before heading to Jim Cornette's Smoky Mountain Wrestling territory. In 1996, Connor returned to the WWF, but this time as D'Lo Brown, a member of the heel faction the Nation of Domination. D'Lo would find championship gold, winning the Intercontinental Championship once and the European Championship 4 times. Brown continued working in the WWE until 2003 and soon moved to TNA, where he competed for the NWA World Tag Team Championship and World Heavyweight Championships. His team with Grand Apollo led to a brief run as tag team champions, and Brown stayed in TNA until the summer of 2004. Afterwards, he hit independent circuit and travelled the world, wrestling in Japan and the UK. In 2008, the WWE brought D'Lo back, but he'd stayed there less than a year as the WWE cut him loose as part of cost-cutting measures. D'Lo Brown was never at loss for work as promotions like Ring of Honor, TNA and All Japan Pro Wrestling brought him in, and D'Lo continues to work in the squared circle to this day. Number 11. SABLE. As we discussed in an earlier video, WWF Kingpin Vince McMahon was blown away when wrestler Marc MERO's wife Sable accompanied him to a meeting to discuss his working in the WWF. Sable was paired with MERO at ringside and very quickly became the WWF's #1 woman. Her appearance in Playboy only increased her popularity. Unfortunately, as sometimes happens, her fame went to her head and she became a diva, literally and figuratively. Sable left the WWF abruptly, but not before filing a $110 million sexual harassment lawsuit. The case was settled and Sable would return to the WWE from 2003 to 2004. Since then, she married Brock Lesnar and the couple have 2 sons. Number 12. Rikishi. When Rikishi was inducted into 2015's WWE Hall of Fame, some fans were surprised that the master of the stink face was still alive. Fatu had worked under several names, but his Rikishi character was by far the most popular, whether it was him teaming up with Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexy of Too Cool or his solo work. Rumour has it that Rikishi was released in 2004 after ignoring repeated requests from the WWE to lose weight. After working the independent circuit, Fatu showed up in TNA in 2007, working as Junior Fatu for less than 2 months before departing. Since then, Rikishi has popped up at WWE events on rare occasions, such as his cousin Yokozuna's 2012 induction into the WWE Hall of Fame and special TV appearances such as the 1000th episode of Raw. Rikishi is off TV, but his sons the Usos carry on his wrestling legacy. Well guys, that about wraps up this video here. Now that we've solved these where are they now mysteries, what other wrestlers would you like us to find? Once again, thank you for all your views, and remember, if you like this video, be sure to hit like and subscribe to WrestleLamia so you don't miss out on any of our videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back with some more wrestling content.